It's not 5 o'clock, and they don't care. Welcome to Wine to 5. Entertainment, education, and everyday drinking for everyday people. Your hosts are Valerie Caruso and Stephanie Davis, two wine educators who don't need a clock to know when to pour that next glass.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Val, your podcast host in Colorado Springs, and Skyping with me is our wine heroine, Steph.
Hey, Val. Happy Thirsty
Steph.
Thursday.
And to you.
And hello to our new listeners, or welcome back to loyal listeners. And in this episode, Val and I are going to be having another Grape Gab.
I love the Grape Gabs, and this Grape Gab is getting Geekio with Verdicchio. I know you shouldn't laugh at your own jokes, but I thought that was funny. But first, we're kicking off our Thirsty Thursday recording sesh with some vino. Steph, you're double fisting it up there.
I am, because even though I had something open, I thought I am going to immerse myself this week in the Grape Gab. I have two Verdicchios. And from two of the major places in the Marche, which we'll get to. So I've got a 2016 Via Bianchi Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi for $11, and the 2015 Belisario's Le Salse, I think is how they say it, which refers to salt, actually, Verdicchio di Metallica. That bottle is $15, and I'm going to tell you, because I think they're both nice wines, but I don't know if it's because it's $4 more or if it's because it's from a different specific area that's a different DOC, but I like the Verdicchio di Metallica better.
I was going to ask you if there was a thought in your mind to maybe blind yourself. I don't know if you ever did that where you'd like number the bottom of the glass.
Yeah.
So you knew which was which, you know, with a little sticky so you can't see through it, and then shuffle the glasses around.
I haven't ever done that. I always have somebody help me.
Yeah. So like during the day, there's usually nobody around to help me do that.
Right.
But I was kind of curious if, judging by what we're going to talk about this week in the podcast, if you would have been able to discern the difference between the Castelli di Jesi and the Verdicchio di Metallica.
Yeah?
Metallica, like Metallica.
Kind of, yes.
Rock on.
Rock on. I did like some Metallica. But, you know, I can taste a huge difference. But like I was saying, it's so hard to know, is it for what reason is it so different? But like, I think that the Castelli di Jesi one has a little bit more roundness. The aromatics are a little bit more intense. And it does feel more ripe fruit. And then the Metallica actually has a more racy edge to it, I think. And that's why I like it, because I think it has that zing that I'm looking for. The acidity is just super intense. I don't know. I just like it better. I'd be curious to, you know, if I, you know, had two different producers and did this kind of taste test side by side again, if I would still pick the Metallica.
Are they both 100% Verdicchio?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they both say on the back that they're, you know, both 100% stainless too.
Okay. And that's interesting, because what Steph's describing there is the difference between the first one, the Castelli di Jesi, which comes from a warmer climate closer to the beach, and then the mountain version, cooler climate. So naturally, you're going to have a little more acidity. And that concludes today's podcast.
No, we just
gave it away.
We summarized it in 2 minutes. No, let's go back and dig into it deeper. And we have got to find out what you're drinking.
So, of course, I have my lips on the glass, but this is the 2016 Azienda Santa Barbara Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi DOC. This is a $12 bottle. And what I think is really interesting, Steph asked me what I thought of it before we started the show, is this one does have a nice acidity to it. It's not overbearing, but there's enough prickly on the palate that makes you think, oh, you know, maybe it wasn't such a warmer region. The fruit is not overly ripe, like I was expecting. I was expecting more of that peach juice, like ripe yellow peach juice running down your arm thing, but instead it's more like a white peach that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
and you're like trying to get that sweet summer fruit, but it's
crunchy.
It's really hard. Yeah, and it's got a tartness to it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like that. But it is still a really nice wine. The almond finish, the bitter almond finish, it's so classic with Verdicchio. You can get a little bit of almond on the nose with this one, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm not getting it as much on the finish that I was also expecting. So it's amazing what expectations do. I don't know. Are you getting any of the bitter almond finish on yours?
I think maybe I get maybe a little bit more from the Castelli di Jesi, which, like I said, has a lot more ripe fruit, and it's just a more intense type of flavor and aromatics. But the other one, the Metallica, has like more like lime and flowers, and just it's so different. So different.
Why are we talking about Verdicchio at all?
Why did we pick it? You know, besides it being really actually super important in Italy, it's also because our listener, Lynn, who lives in Bordeaux right now, asked us if we ever had a episode, because she was, you know, using our search bar on our website and didn't see that we had an episode about it. And that was just a month or so ago. And so we were like, well, actually, Lynn, we did plan to do it, but now since you've asked, we're moving it up the list a little bit higher. And you know, Verdicchio is so significant because this white grape, as you can already guess that we're having this white wine, is responsible for about 60% of wine production in Marche, Italy. And, you know, some people might think that Italy doesn't have very interesting white wines, but you know what? That's wrong. You know, you need to just drink more Italian white wine. But Verdicchio's name is roughly translated to little green one. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Because you just made reference to some of the green notes in the Metallica one. Even though Verdicchio has made its home in Marche, its ampelographic home is possibly in the Veneto. And there, it's known as Trebbiano di Soave or Turbiana. And what's interesting, and yes, that's Soave, and you're all going, well, Valerie, Soave is made with Garganega, you know, because some of you know that, and that is a Grape Gab Garganega for another day. But it only needs to be 70% Garganega to be Soave, but the other 30% can be this grape, Trebbiano di Soave, or can be Chardonnay also. And I was fully prepared to not find a Verdicchio today and go to the Soave next to see if I could find one. That I've only found one, and I just went to a little store downtown because I needed a quick source. I also knew that if I couldn't get my Verdicchio straight up, that I could find it as Trebbiano di Soave. But Verdicchio did make a name for itself in Marche, like Steph said. It produces 60% of the wine there, and it was about the 15th century after the plague wiped out a lot of the region that farmers started kind of moving there and planting this grape. And what I also found is it's got this really cool history, so I had to poke around a few sources to verify this legend, but I'm going to trust Ian d'Agata. Apparently back in the 4th century, when the king of the Visigoths, Alaric, marched on Rome, he hooked up his troops with 40 mules to get this, haul barrels of Verdicchio to maintain their strength. Now, I'm assuming he's talking about the troop strengths, not the mule strengths, but if the mules were Verdicchio connoisseurs, who knows? But I'm going to go ahead and trust that. So, grazie, signor d'Agata.
So what else? You know, where is Marche? Some people are like, you know what? I don't know Italy. Where are we talking about? Show me the picture, you know. And so it's one of Italy's 21 wine regions, bordered on the west by Umbria, which is right there in the central part of Italy, Tuscany, and parts of Emilia-Romagna also border it. And to the north, Emilia-Romagna, San Marino, and the Adriatic Sea, also to the east there too. And then south is Abruzzo, Lazio, and Umbria. So, you know, look at the map. If you really are kind of like, I'm still not visualizing it, it's right there in the center. And then, you know, touching the Adriatic Sea. And what's interesting about this region is there are as much northern influence as southern, because it's right there in the center. And the mountains comprise 31% of the region, so they get snow there, and the rest of the region, like about 69%, is hills. so hilly parts. The plains don't really exist, although there is a long coastline along that Adriatic Sea there. And the summers are hot. And the winters are cool, and the autumns are moderate with warm springs that bring rain.
Yeah, so if you can put it in your mind, you know how Italy looks like a boot?
Right?
So this is one of those boots, you know, the over-the-knee boot, but on the back of the knee.
Yeah.
You know, so on some boots where the zipper kind of starts on the back of the knee. That's where you're going to find Le Marche. Okay, just so you know. And what's really cool is about this region is there are influences from northern Italy and southern Italy. So you're going to have some nice reds there, but you're also going to have these really nice whites, which northern Italy is known for some really nice whites. Mm-hmm. So you've got those style influences from the north and the south. You know, and there are historical reasons for that too, which we're not going to totally go into. But Verdicchio itself, this white grape, is actually responsible for two major denominations in Le Marche. Verdicchio de Castelli di Jesi, which both Steph and I are drinking. Both Steph and I are drinking. And Verdicchio de Matelica, which Steph is drinking, and I'm not. So that's her second wine. And in both cases, they are DOCs. The DOCG is actually reserved for the Reserva. But either way, whether it's the DOC or the DOCG, the Verdicchio brings an 85% minimum requirement to the blending party. Castelli di Jesi is about 20 miles from the sea, so it's going to have that milder, more Mediterranean climate. And Castelli di Jesi, we should note, is about 10 times larger in terms of vine plantings than Matelica.
Yeah, that's significant.
It is. It is. And that, again, since most of the land is made up of mountains, you know, or actually, since a third of the land is made up in mountains, that's where you're going to find the Matelica. The rest is what they call colline, or hills. And then there's just a little bit of beach. So the wines from Castelli di Jesi are going to boast a little bit more ripe stone fruit, depending on where they're situated. And of course, they're going to be somewhat softer, more approachable in youth. And the yields have been cut back over the years, actually, to crank up the character volume.
Yeah. And it also makes sense, while you're probably going to see more of the Castelli di Jesi in your wine shops and your liquor stores, because there's just so much more of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you're like, oh, I'd like to try a Matelica, you know, you might have to look a little bit harder. But, you know, from what we found in the description and what we're telling you guys, I'm tasting the difference. I'm curious to have some more producers also, but the Matelica, the growing zones are mountainous, further inland, close to Umbria, so there is more of a continental climate. So climate totally plays a factor here. The acidity of the grape really shines, and it leans toward more of citrus, tree fruits, and herbs. And as for the wine styles, both regions also make, in addition to dry, age-worthy wines, some sparkling, sweet, or passito styles. And I thought I read something too, Val, that there's an idea that Verdicchio might have been one of the first spumante styles because of its really high acidity. I saw that in the Oxford Companion.
That is a cool little tidbit.
Definitely. I think, you know, because of its acidity, it makes a really nice sparkling. And it's also used in other appellations around Le Marche, its surrounding neighbors, Abruzzo, Umbria, Tuscany, other regions, north and south. So it gets around. It's not like we're going to tell you only find it in Le Marche.
Yeah, it gets around, hence the name calling. So we like to do this part of the Grape Gab called By Any Other Name. And Verdicchio has a lot of names. It goes by Verdicchio Blanco, Verdicchio Giallo, so white or yellow, Verdicchio Doratello, which is kind of gold, Verdicchio Verde, which is green, which is kind of like repetitive. Verdicchio, little green one, so green. It's green. Verdicchio Stretto or Verdicchio Peloso. It goes by many other aliases around Italy, but in addition to all the Verdicchio name calling, Trebbiano Verde, Trebbiano Valtanese, you're all entering the fray to get in on the confusion action along with Trebbiano di Verona, yes, that Verona, and these characters. Trebbiano di Soave that we mentioned earlier, yes, that's Soave. They also call it Trebbiano Nostrano, which I'd never heard, but not to be confused with Trebbiano Toscano. That's kind of funny. And then okay, I'm the only one laughing here. That's how we roll up in here. But Lugana or Trebbiano Lugana, yes, that Lugana, where it's also called Turbiana, Angelica, Verdone, Boschera, Pfeffertraub, and Piavana and Peverella holla back as well. We should mention that the last one, Peverella, is actually used in northern Italy and Brazil.
Ooh, that's actually a really cool factoid.
I know. I'm only going to read a few dozen more. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. No. I'm just kidding. But there exists, no kidding, at least a dozen more names for this grape. That, until now, many of you are probably still wondering what the AF inspired us to go there in the first place. Where else is it growing? California. Doesn't everything grow there? Malta, Brazil? Yes, grows there too.
We can't say this is only in Italy. You're going to find it other places too. So we already sort of hinted to this at the beginning of the show when we were talking about our own glasses in front of us, but we didn't describe what it really looks like. So usually in appearance is straw colored, like a light yellow, clear with green tinges, maybe when it's young. On the nose, it's not overly aromatic. It's usually pretty light with some fruit notes, floral notes. And then on the palate, it is dry most of the time, right? If it's not pasito or, it's the dessert style. Dry, moderate to high acidity, medium-bodied, green apples. Actually, I think that was listed as one of the flavors on the back of one of my bottles. Also the citrus, so lemon, mandarin, quince, lime, nuts, and then this bitter almond finish also. And that can help you identify it if you're doing blind tasting. So that, that bitter almond finish and some of those characteristics we described. But there are exceptions. So there can be more golden, full-bodied aged styles as well. And fresher apple and tree fruit notes shine more, but herbal hints are there. And I said, I thought mine had some floral component too in the Metallica. So yes, there is lots there. And of course, it's all very subjective. If you feel like you got a character, peas are in it, you go with that.
And what's interesting about that bitter almond finish? I mean, if you know to look for it, I probably wouldn't have noticed it much. I've noticed a bit of bitterness, but it's not that phenolic bitterness that you get with a Pinot Grigio kind of thing. It doesn't kind of dig into the back of the palate. It just kind of goes down the side. Maybe the acidity carries it, but I don't find it overly prominent. Do you?
No, not in the two that I have.
Okay. So that's kind of interesting that if this was blind tasting, I probably would have failed it.
Well, and I want to say one other thing too, is that, when you're tasting these straight out of the refrigerator, you might actually be missing out completely because you'd be like, I'm not getting any fruit. I'm not getting all of these notes. And so make sure that, if the objective is to understand it, give it some time to warm up a little bit so you've got more expression in your glass and everything's warmed up. But if you're just, drinking an inexpensive $12 bottle of wine with some friends, make sure that it's at the right temperature. But if you're geeking out and you really want to understand it for blind tasting, it just needs to warm up.
Mm-hmm. What about Wino Radar, Steph?
I wanted to mention this because Val and I both went out shopping just for you guys today so that we would have Verdicchios on the show. And right next to the bottle that I was picking up was a Lacrima di Moro d'Alba, also from Marche. And it was $17. And since I have never had it and I thought it would be a really good #W25 challenge for myself, I bought it. Oh. It wasn't too expensive, $17. And so Lacrima is the grape, and it's a red grape, and it means tears, and it refers to so this particular grape is, the skin is easily broken, and so when the juice comes out, that's why they refer to it as these tears. And it's supposed to be Beaujolais-like. Have you ever had it before, Val?
I actually have.
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't remember.
Oh.
It was one of those ones I had in a wine bar somewhere, and I went, oh, okay, Lacrima. And it wasn't the Lacrima di Cristi, it's the Vesuvio that some of you were thinking of. But I just thought it was interesting because I was like, well, how is this different from that one? And they've got other grapes there too, the Vernaccia Nera.
Ooh.
And they've got some other white grapes, Passerina, Maceratino, Biancame, and even a Pecorino.
I've had the Passerina too, which is fun.
So it's amazing how many wines are out there.
Yeah.
To try and to get on your hashtag W25 challenge taste.
But what have you got on your radar?
I have an Italian lesson on my radar because for many, many years, I thought Matelica was pronounced Matalica or Matalica. I decided to do a little double checking because that's how it flowed out of my mouth. So I kind of had to readjust. So I did see that our friend Jeremy from Do Bianchi, and I think we talked about this when he was on the podcast, had this really great Italian grape pronunciation project. Unfortunately, this one wasn't there, but they are these YouTubes that are actual Italian producers giving us the 411 on how to pronounce their wines, grapes, and denominations. We'll link that up to you if you want to visit it. So when I couldn't find this one, I went over to Dalluva, DALLUVA.com. And they have a quick reference to the Italian language, why some of the letters and sounds come together the way they do, how the CH is always a hard C, and you know, just the rules of Italian pronunciation that sometimes we forget. And I was really surprised to find that this was there along with many others. Now, I have to say, they don't say Valdobbiadene the way we learned it and the way Jeremy does. They say it Valdobbiadene, I think. But it could be dialect. I don't know. But I was like, oh, that's different. But I did email them and said, hey, I'm going to mention you guys because I didn't know this existed. And it's a great resource to figure out how to pronounce some of these grapes and regions.
Yeah, that is a great resource. I'm glad you found that because...
Did you know about it?
No, I didn't know about it.
Yeah, we'll link that up for you because it is a really nice, quick, everything's in alphabetical order, just click, click, and then they say it. And most of them sound pretty good, pretty spot on.
That's great. That's great. Well, for some shout outs, I definitely want to mention that we've been getting a lot of requests to join our Facebook community. And I think that's great. And we truly are impressed, I think, with the amount of questions and comments and suggestions. You guys are supporting one another and answering each other's questions. So it is a worldwide community. Anybody will end up answering you and you just don't even know it. So please access that and use it and love it. And one more shout out, actually. So last night I met Morgan here in Fort Collins at a nonprofit event, and she was so excited because I didn't know her. She didn't know me, but she loves our podcast and she loved our Gewürztraminer episode. And so wonderful to meet you, Morgan. Thank you for listening. And you are going to be immortalized in the blog with our photo that we took because I was so ecstatic.
You know, it's always excited when people come up to you and they've already heard of your podcast and they actually listen to it. And I don't know why we're surprised. It's like, we've been doing this. We've just entered our 4th year. Like, oh my God, you listen to our podcast. I don't know why we're surprised that people listen to it, but you never get over the shock that somebody's actually listening to you babble into a microphone. So we're so grateful to hear those stories.
Oh, I know. And Val, you would love it too, because it was like, I was looking, the event was at the art museum and I'm looking at the exhibit was called Awkward Family Photos. And it was hilarious. So you're looking at these awkward photos and enjoying this experience at the museum. And my friend Amanda comes up to me and she goes, girl, I have someone who you have to meet. This is just going to rock your world, you know? And she's like, I'm really sorry to interrupt you and what you're doing, but you've got to come over here. And she's like, and then she introduces me and she's like, this is Stephanie Davis from the Wine 25 podcast. And Morgan's like, I love your bike.
Awesome, Morgan. Thank you so much.
It was so funny. Yeah. So funny. All right. Time for Patreon love.
Patreon love. We're going to start with Robin Sauls from Girls Gone Grape. She's our Reserva Superiore supporter. Our Reserva supporter is Auntie in Georgia, and our Tenacious Tasters, Jeff E. from the award-winning We Like Drinking podcast, Sebastian of Sassy Italy Tours, Jen in Maryland, David and Lisa in Illinois, and Anne-Marie in Virginia.
And it's not 5 o'clock, and we don't care. Meg in South Dakota, Clay in Arizona, and in California, they don't care. John, Andrew, and Aswani, Chantal in Ontario, Canada, Mary Lou, who is from Pennsylvania, but she's not there right now. She's in France. Kathy in Georgia, Colorado. We've got Chris and Janet and Diane, Stephen Renee in Illinois, Kathy in Tennessee, Ashley in North Carolina, and Sean in Ohio. And our Tastemaker listeners, David in Scotland, Carol in Kentucky, Karen in California, Chip and Katie in Pennsylvania, Danielle and Serena in New York.
Go to our Patreon page for details, patreon.com/wine-to-5podcast, on how to be entered into our monthly drawing, exclusive content, and swag. And speaking of, it's time to draw our May winner. So everybody at the $2 a month or higher donation level are entered into the drawing. And I'm going to go dig out my phone and get this random number generator thing going. While I'm doing that, if you're in the group, the Facebook group, did I see that? Is it in Mary Lou? Is she in like South Africa right now? I think it is.
Oh, she might be in South Africa.
I saw some pictures from South Africa. I'm like, she's in Stellenbosch. And I'm like, oh my God, it's one of my favorite, most beautiful wine regions I've ever seen. Okay, so let me set this
That's true.
random number thing. But yeah, you guys definitely get in there and check it out. I'm not there a lot, but Steph, you're probably in there more than I am. I feel bad, but I'm just not there a lot. I started school again, if you must know. So for the next 8 weeks, you guys are in for it. Okay, 1 to 180.
You're in for what, Val?
Brain dead.
Okay, who is the winner for this month? We're doing another round of either a Go Vino glass, which is so good to build your glasses if you don't have any, or if you have 1 or 2, here's how you get some more, and or a t-shirt if you've been dying to have that. So all our patrons are up. Who's the winner, Val?
What's the number? Well, can you read the number?
There it is, the big 50.
Big 50, and that is, I'm going to coordinate that with the spreadsheet. Auntie. Congratulations, Auntie.
You can either add to your collection of Go Vino glasses or have a t-shirt for yourself or somebody that would love it.
Yes, that loves to sport the swag.
Yes, so we will be in touch with you. But for more good stuff, go to our website, wine25.com. You can shop there. There's all sorts of fun stuff with our affiliates. And one last thing, we'd love it if you could please leave us a review on iTunes. We will even read it on a show.
Yes.
Yes. Congratulations.
And between our weekly episodes, you can find us skulking in the social spaces at Wine25. I'm Val. I'm on Twitter as WineGalAnbox, and everywhere else is Vino with Val. Steph is also online as the Wine Heroine. Until next week, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Wine to 5 podcast. Be sure to check us out at Facebook/WineTWO5 and tune in next week for more fun and useful sip tips.